how's it going, everyone? As you can tell from the title of this video, we sold our Tahoe that we bought like less than a month ago, and we already bought something else, something a little bit quirkier for one specific reason. I figure I'll just show you guys right off the bat what it is. Nothing special, just a 2010 Nissan Pathfinder. But before I start talking about anything else, I want to show you the one particularly cool quirk about this car. But one thing that I really love, I think my favorite thing about this car though, is the keyless entry. There's just a little, I have the key in my pocket, there's just the little button you press on here, locks and unlocks the door. But if you step in here, you'll notice, besides my post-it note that my dad put up, this is a Canadian car, and therefore it is in kilometers and not in miles per hour. And I don't know why, but I just find that to be like super cool. But back to the keyless entry, because I'm already on that and it's like the coolest thing. I mean, I just like that I don't have to take the key out of my pocket at all. Just foot on the brake. You can put the key in here if you need to. There's a little flap, but just foot on the brake. It starts right up. So this car has 168,947 kilometers on it. Might seem like quite a lot, but again, kilometers, miles, much different. So that's only about not even 105,000 miles. So this car is single owner. It was from Canada. The guy who owned it basically drove between here and Canada. I think he worked in both places or something. So it was single owner. I mean, the car is in very nice shape. But for 2010, I mean, it looks obviously, you know, doesn't look like a new car in here, but it is very clean and very nice. And I like this whole just center control stack right here. It's just very like symmetrical. It looks very nice. It doesn't have nav on it, but one thing that it does have that's pretty nice for being a 10-year-old car is a backup camera that, you know, it's not a 4K backup camera by any means, but it is still pretty nice. This video might be all over the place just because I kind of am just winging it a little bit, if I'm being completely honest, but I want to talk about why we sold the Tahoe. Pretty much we bought it, we got a fairly good price on it. My dad ended up fixing a couple little things, like the mirror was broken. He gave it a nice wax polish, just cleaned it up, made it look a lot nicer. And then he figured this thing is way too big, so we ended up selling it. So that's why we ended up getting the Pathfinder. I mean, driving that Tahoe, it was just, it was like driving a boat on the road. I mean, we're of course used to Saabs, small sedans, but I mean, that thing was just way too big. I wasn't a huge fan of driving it, but this is more of a, I guess, a mid-size SUV. It's definitely bigger than a crossover. So I guess Nissan's SUV lineup, the two SUVs that are closest to this from this time period would be the Xterra, which is probably a little bit smaller. It's a little bit shorter, and it's it almost seems like it's a little bit taller, but maybe that's just because it's shorter. And the Armada, which is just the bigger version of this. My buddy actually has an Armada from that's 1 year newer that looks very, very similar to this thing, both on the inside and outside. They look very similar. Right off the bat, probably my biggest gripe about the car is the steering wheel. I just think it looks hideous. I like that the volume controls are kind of like switches like this. It's very nice, but I just think it's aesthetically hideous, in my opinion. The car itself though, it's, you know, a very bland looking car. It's just a Nissan Pathfinder, but it's not bad looking at all. I think it looks pretty good in white. I'll go ahead, pop the trunk here. If it'll, oh, maybe not. There we go. Pop the trunk here, and you can see it does have a third row of seats here, but you know, no reason to really have those up. But it's got a pretty good amount of cargo space. To my knowledge, the Pathfinder came in 3 different trim levels. The SE, which is what this one is, was the middle trim level, and it did come with some nice features. Like, it doesn't have the navigation, but it does still have pretty much every option that came with the SE trim level. And one thing that's really cool is it is 4-wheel drive, but of course you have your standard 2-wheel drive, which you keep it in for better gas mileage. You have auto, where it'll switch between the two. You have 4-wheel drive, 4 high, just normal 4-wheel drive, but if you want to go into 4 low, it also has 4 low, which we haven't really tried at all because, I mean, we haven't really needed to, but pretty cool that it has that, and you can just switch between these on the fly. I mean, you can switch between 2 and 4-wheel drive just while you're driving. Like, you don't need to be stopped to do that. I think that's pretty cool. Yes, under the hood, which I can show you guys, is this tab that's like really hidden under here. It's just a 4-liter V6. I think it makes about 260 horsepower, so not too bad, but it's not any speed machine by any means. I'll just shut this because 1, it's filthy, and 2, it's noisy. But for some reason it has like a K&N filter on it. which is kind of funny. But one other nice thing that this car did come with, that has been on it since it's new, to my knowledge, is a clear bra. You might be able to see it from here even, just because it's about 10 years old now, but it has a wrap on the first part of the hood, the entire front bumper, just a little bit of the fenders, and on the mirror caps as well, to prevent from rock chips and damaging the paint, among other things. The only thing this car really needs, it doesn't even need it, but my dad is doing it sort of as preventive maintenance, because these cars have a common issue with the radiator, the coolant, and the transmission fluid mixing for some reason. I don't remember the exact reason. But basically he's going to be replacing the radiator and the thermostat here fairly soon, just as preventive maintenance of sorts. Better safe than sorry. But this car drives really nice. I mean, I think it's very smooth. V6, not a V8, so not as smooth as a V8, but I mean, it drives really nice. It even has a manual mode. So pretty sick. I know, pretty sick. And it was in 4th gear for some reason. Did you guys see that? I put it in the manual mode and it goes in the 4th gear. And of course I can go back down in the 1st. Let me go up in the 5th. It'll let me go up and will let me start in 5th. Hold on, we're gonna test this out. It'll let me start the car driving in 5th gear. I'm a bit confused by that, but I guess that's I don't know. I don't know what Nissan was thinking. I mean, personally, I'm not a huge fan of Nissan, but I think their CVTs are trash. I don't think they're nearly as reliable as Toyotas and Hondas, but this is a little bit different because it's a bigger car. I mean, I'm talking mainly about like Sentras in particular. I mean, I know too many people that have new Sentras that have just been absolute piles of trash. But this one, I mean, it's a pretty solid car. So yeah, I mean, I guess if you guys have any questions on the car, actually, one thing I do want to mention, my dad got a quote from a Nissan dealer before he bought the car because he wanted to use it as sort of like a negotiating tactic, I guess. He wanted to see how much it would cost to get this instrument cluster replaced with a US instrument cluster. And the Nissan dealer, I thought it was gonna be like, oh, 500 bucks, you know, because he said it was expensive. I'm like, maybe 500 bucks. They told him it would be almost $5,000 for the instrument cluster alone, not even for the labor to replace it, which probably wouldn't be too bad. But that's just mind-boggling to me, is that it would cost that much to fix something like that. So there are probably some other options that we can look at for that. To me, I personally think he should keep it. I think it's cool. I think it's like a little quirk that makes this, you know, not your standard Nissan Pathfinder that you see on the road, even though it's not really that special, just being a Saab person and enjoying the quirks of cars like Doug DeMuro, I guess. That's something that I like. But with that being said, I think that's really all I've got for today. Let me know your thoughts on this car down below. I doubt there will be any more content on this car unless you people are begging for it in the comments. But thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.